After scrounging through literally everywhere I could think to look, I finally found it. Right here is the first YouTube video I ever made. And after watching it, I don't think I'm gonna show it to you. Okay, fine, but just for a second. I'm sure we've probably all seen. That's it, that's all you get. Okay, maybe you get to see more at the end, maybe. All right, it feels like everyone's trying to be a content creator all of a sudden, right? I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel like everywhere I look online, there's someone with a new crowd work clip or a show about their takes on Instagram Reels. You might be thinking the very same thing about me. Who am I? I'm still relatively new to all this. So what's going on with the YouTube algorithm that made me the person on your screen right now, instead of Mr. Beast or whoever you watch? I don't know your taste. And why does it feel like the algorithm's starting to change a little bit? You know what I mean? I feel like I'm in a unique position to answer this, right? I can't speak for other creators, but at least for myself, I've wanted to do this for a very long time. And I think I'm finally getting the chance to do it. Now, I know if there's one thing YouTubers love to talk about, it's their YouTube channels. But I've realized for all these videos I've put out in the last year, I've never really told you who I am or why I'm here. I think that's important. I hope it is. But more importantly, I think it can tell us how YouTube became whatever this is today and where it's going. You may have heard the news that the Oscars will be moving to YouTube in a couple of years. I haven't been able to stop thinking about this. It's really weird, right? But the more I've sat on it, the clearer something became to me. This platform has gone through a few different eras over the decades, and I think we're in the beginning of the transition into the next era. And I'm pretty sure I'm proof of it. Not to self-aggrandize too much. So to understand this, we have to go back in time through the eras of YouTube past. We're gonna break down the history of the platform into 4 distinct eras and what the 5th one is probably gonna end up looking like. I also wanna tell you how this channel actually started and what I plan to change in the next year to be ready for this shift. And for all of you that love videos about how much money YouTubers make, don't worry, I will give you the details about that too. I think of you guys as my producers in a way. I wouldn't be doing any of this if you didn't watch, so I think you deserve to know what's going on with the channel. As long as you keep liking and subscribing, that is. Okay, let's get on with it. Okay, so when we're thinking about the different eras of YouTube, a useful analogy I want you to think about is a game of tug of war. In this case, the 2 players are the platforms and the creators. Each change, each progression to a new era on YouTube comes from one of these 2 forces pulling the rope in their direction. Okay, if that still seems too vague, just follow along. It'll make sense soon. The first era of YouTube is what I'd call the viral era, or if you're more cynical, the clickbait era. When YouTube first launched in 2005, the first videos to catch on were referred to as viral videos. Think Charlie Bit My Finger, Chocolate Rain, The Evolution of Dance. They were largely shared organically through email and online messaging, since most people didn't know what YouTube was yet. The more views these videos got, the more recommended they were to people visiting the website. Keep in mind, YouTube at this time was being run by like 10 to 20 people in the first couple years. The algorithm was far from perfect. Now, it didn't take long for the first creators to finally take advantage of this system. Some of the first big YouTubers like Smosh, Fred, and Shane Dawson started putting out sketches with pretty insane concepts and even crazier titles. I don't even know what we can put in this video as an example without getting demonetized. And once they figured out how to make custom thumbnails, they skyrocketed in popularity on the site. And they started a design language that many of us making thumbnails today still stick to in some form. Maybe less women in bikinis, but you know. The reason these kinds of shocking sketches with crazy titles did so well was because YouTube incentivized creators to make videos that got the most clicks. These videos definitely got clicks. And these creators shaped what people thought YouTube was to many people, including myself. The first video I ever saw was the emo song by Ryan Higa. That is definitely of the era, if you go back and watch it now, to say the least. So back to our tug of war analogy. Think of this as the first pull of the rope from creators. Now, when you're searching for information on platforms like YouTube, it's important not to fall into your biases that you may have for it. That's why I use ground news. Now, we mentioned it earlier in the video, but you've probably seen the news that the Oscars are moving to YouTube in 2029. It's a huge story about the future of entertainment, but depending on where you read it, you get a completely different story. For example, the right-leaning American Wire News frames it as, quote, the woke Oscars hitting, quote, rock bottom. The framing here is about questioning the legitimacy of pretty much everyone involved in this deal. But then you look at Semaphore, a left-leaning outlet, and they call it the day, quote, network TV finally, truly, really died. Through this framing, it's about YouTube winning the war for the living room over traditional television. Each outlet has their own incentives when delivering you that information. Now, I use Ground News to cut through that noise. It's an app that lets you compare thousands of sources side by side. You can see the bias, factuality, and even the ownership behind the headlines. Their coverage detail panel shows you exactly how stories like the Oscars situation is being split across the political spectrum. And the bias comparison tool helps you figure out what the true motives are behind the headlines you're seeing. And by subscribing with my link at groundnews.com/Aidan, you'll have the same tools I'm using while researching this video to see the full picture instead of the most popular narrative. The goal of these videos is to help you take a step back and see a subject, in this case, the state of YouTube, a little clearer. I can't think of a better tool than Ground News to help you do that every single day. So to get the 40% off discount, again, you have to go through my link at groundnews.com/Aidan or scan the QR code on screen, I think it's somewhere up here, and you'll get 40% off the unlimited access Vantage plan. It's a better way to stay informed. The link is also right there in the description and the pinned comment down below. Okay, on to the next era. This first shift to the next era starts in 2011. I call the new era the watch time era. So a few years in, YouTube gets purchased by Google, and YouTube starts to evolve into a bigger, more legit platform than it was in those early years. Seasoned engineers came into the fold, and by the turn of the decade, decided to fundamentally change their algorithm for the first time in a major way. So instead of promoting videos that got the most clicks or views, as they were counted at the time, they started incentivizing viewers to watch videos for longer. This metric was what became known as watch time, and it's the primary metric for video success on this platform to this very day. Now, if you were on YouTube at this time, you'll know there was a lot of clickbait titles and thumbnails. If you think it's bad now, you should have seen it then. It was bad. This change was clearly necessary. A lot of people would click on videos and immediately click away when it wasn't what they wanted to see, and sometimes would leave YouTube entirely. Those videos doing that shouldn't be boosted or promoted. But the result of this change was seismic. It shifted the promoted kinds of videos and creators. Gaming videos took off by 2011, 2012, with PewDiePie as the obvious standout. At this point, he had surpassed Smosh to become the most subscribed YouTuber on the platform, which symbolically was a huge change from where things were just a few years previously. A big reason for this is because gaming videos could be made relatively quickly compared to sketches or animations, and tended to be longer. Plus, people were more likely to know what they were in store for when they clicked on a thumbnail with Jacksepticeye's face next to the Happy Wheels logo, or whatever. Now, clearly, this was a tug of rope by the platform. Their change directly impacted the culture and image of what YouTube fundamentally was, and it lasted for years. Until the influencer era. Just 3 months after its launch in 2013, Vine had become the most downloaded app on the App Store, nearly tripling its user base to over 40 million users just 3 months after that. Now, I know the audience demographics on this channel, most of you have heard of Vine, but for the few who haven't, Vine was an algorithmically based video app that's whole pitch was that videos had to be 6 seconds or less. A bunch of creators we think of today came out of that ecosystem. Think Logan Paul, Drew Gooden, and even to some extent, Bo Burnham, kind of. Despite the app's massive popularity, within a few years, the platform would die out and completely shut down, promoting many of these new Vine stars to find a home on, you guessed it, YouTube. This era started around 2015. As these new personalities made a home on YouTube, they adjusted their content to long form in ways that benefited from YouTube's new watch time focused algorithm. This meant lots of content flooding the site that required less effort to make, like storytime videos and shopping hauls, and allowed these creators to inject their personalities that had gained them so much notoriety more into the content itself. Vlogging took off in this time. Food reviews, trends like the Ice Bucket Challenge were huge. Personality dominated the site, with channels rising up in this era like Drama Alert, solely focused on these personalities. Needless to say, this was the biggest pull of the rope from the creators yet. This era lasted for quite some time, and then TikTok happened. By the end of 2021, average usage on TikTok surged to 91 minutes a day, compared to YouTube's 56 total usage minutes. Now, we know YouTube responded with YouTube Shorts to compete, but they did something else much more consequential as well. This era is what I call the For You era, and it's the one we're in right now. It's defined by the gradual shift of viewing habits away from the subscription feed and towards the homepage. It's hard to put a start date on this era since the change was somewhat gradual, but if I had to draw a line somewhere, it'd definitely be around the start of 2021. Now, as we all know, TikTok's feed is entirely generated by an algorithm. It's arguably what showed us all that our viewing habits were predictable enough to be exploited by a learning model. And I think YouTube took this lesson to heart. Up until the last few years, YouTube had prioritized video recommendations from channels that you were subscribed to, but not anymore. These days, much more sophisticated algorithms are scanning your watching habits. The subscription button isn't very influential anymore. The algorithm knows who you want to see more than you do, or so YouTube seems to think. Now, obviously this can be seen as a slow, methodical pull of the rope by the platform. The way we watch videos these days would be pretty foreign to someone back in 2016. Like, how often are you checking the subscription page? The metrics on my channel would say not very often, and I'm not either. So who does this benefit? I would have to say smaller creators. It has arguably never been easier to be discovered as an unknown creator by the niche audiences you're targeting with your content. It's what allows a relative nobody like myself to skyrocket from 500 subscribers to 45,000 in less than a year, with really just a handful of videos. This is why you're seeing so many unknown creators on your feed these days. If you're looking to start a channel, now might be the best time in the history of YouTube. I know I'm biased saying it, but I do believe it. But another reason I'm saying this is because, as we know, these eras don't tend to stick around long, and we're already several years into this one. But before we get to what's next, I want to take a look at how this channel has done in this era. Alright, so we're coming up on just over a year since I started this channel, and it's been, to put it lightly, absolutely insane. Like, seriously, I can't thank you guys enough for all the support you've shown in every single comment section on every single video. Anyway, enough gushing. All right, I want to flash back to October of 2024. I had been doing a lot of work in Los Angeles as a videographer, which gave me an excuse to spend all my discretionary income on camera equipment. After all, it's a business expense, right? Anyways, October 2024. I had just moved back with my parents. The goal was to spend a year taking a real swing at making YouTube videos. I wrote down a list of 100 videos I wanted to make, and I just started making them. Now, you might be thinking at this point, you sure got a lot of videos on some of your videos, Aidan. How much money did that end up making you? Yeah, I'm not gonna dance around it or whatever. It is this much. That's as of the recording of this video. More or less than you thought. Let me know in the comments. So I was trying to figure out the best way to kind of like describe what's happening here, how this number came to be, and I came up with this pie chart. Basically, this is the split of all the different revenue streams for this first year of the channel. Now, as we can see, ad revenue was a significant amount. If you've seen other videos like this from other creators talking about their income streams, this might seem a little high, but the fact of the matter is, I didn't start doing some of these other things to get these other revenue streams until very, very recently, kind of after some of the big videos this year actually took off. So the only thing coming in was the ad revenue. Now you can see YouTube Premium accounts for a real non-zero chunk of the revenue here. When you guys have YouTube Premium and you watch videos on this channel, it seriously bumps up the rate on those videos. And I don't know if this is true, but I heard somewhere very, very recently that YouTube is no longer counting views from people watching YouTube videos with ad blockers. So yeah, take that for what you will. You guys do what you want, but maybe turn off the ad blockers for the first couple minutes of this video if you want to support. Now, I'll get more into the grants section of this in the Q&A video next week. I have a bit to explain there. Okay, this next pie chart, very clear, very simple. This is the amount of money that I made from YouTube versus the amount of money I made from doing other stuff this year. I am now officially full-time just doing that green chunk right there. So the blue chunk is going away next year. So no pressure on you guys or anything, but I'm gonna be putting a lot more work into this channel, a lot more time and energy with the goal of the green filling in the blue and then some. Hopefully, we'll see. Okay. And this last graph, I had some more graphs, but I really think this is the only other thing that's gonna be useful for right now for what we're gonna be talking about in the rest of this video, and this is like future projections for my channel. Now, this might be a really stupid idea to put in the video, but if we maintain the same rate of growth that we've had this year, this graph right here is basically showing where we'll be subscriber count-wise in the coming years. And you'll see that the blue graph right there in 2026, by the end of the year, by the end of next year, it says we pass 100,000 subscribers. If we do that, I'm gonna do something crazy. I'm not quite sure yet, but we're gonna figure that out. If you guys have ideas, Let me know. I would love to hear them. Shave my head. I could shave my head. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But that's kind of the goal that we're going for next year. We're gonna be putting out like so many more videos. Hopefully a couple of them stick and they can get us there quickly. But who knows? Who knows? Anyways, that's the state of my channel. But I want to ask where we go from here. So to answer all that, we have to know where the rest of everything else is going first. So we left off our story of YouTube eras with the platform slowly pulling us into an era of largely algorithmically fed content. So where do we look for hints of what's coming next? I mean, I'd argue we just have to look at what YouTube's promoting themselves. Events like YouTube Brandcast have grown in size drastically. This is where YouTube shows off what's coming next to the platform to big advertisers, so they can incentivize them to put more money into the platform by showing them what's coming next. But what I find so interesting about events like that is who YouTube chooses to promote to these advertisers. This most recent year, creators like Michelle Carr, MrBeast, and Sean Evans were all featured. And I don't think that was accidental. Think of what they all have in common. The content they make for YouTube is popular, yes, but it's also episodic. And especially for Sean Evans and Michelle Carr, their shows come out over a season, just like traditional television. So through this lens, these advertising events start to look much more like the ones put on by Netflix and Amazon Prime, where they tell advertisers what upcoming shows they have an opportunity to sponsor. And you combine these actions with the deal they just made for the Oscars, and the platform seems like it's rapidly moving towards a model that looks like a traditional television streaming service. And the numbers show this as well. The amount of time people are spending watching YouTube on the television has been growing rapidly, and it's starting to get the attention of competitors. On their earnings calls, Netflix now names YouTube as a direct competitor, something that they historically had not ever done. I think many saw this as a sign that Netflix would start looking more like YouTube, but I don't think we've really considered the possibility that YouTube is going to start looking more like Netflix. Now, this would be the first time in our metaphorical tug of war that the platform has pulled twice in a row. When this happens in real life, it tends to mean the other side is starting to lose the game. So in response to all this, I think YouTube's argument would be that there's no clear signs that they're promoting smaller creators less. If anything, now is the best time to start a YouTube channel. A rising tide lifts all boats, right? More people are coming to the platform in total. I would agree with that part, sure, but there are only so many eyeballs at a certain point. And if YouTube starts recommending higher production, episodic content to viewers at higher rates for higher advertising dollars, that in turn will mean less traction and discoverability for the rest of the YouTube community. So, what's my plan to deal with this? It seems like, as was the case with every era in YouTube past, that the type of content that thrives on this platform is changing yet again. I think if you're taking a reactive look at things, and I asked you what type of content I should make today, you might say something like video podcasting, right? But I disagree that that's where things are going long term. The long history of this platform seems to be on a clear trajectory to broad, mass market appeal. I think this means shows with higher production quality and a real episodic feel will thrive in the coming years, kind of like television. I'm dedicating the entirety of next year to leveling up this channel to get there. We'll be trying a bunch of new formats, video topics, interviews, etc., with sort of the end goal being to have a toolbox that'll make the version of this channel in 2027 feel, in some ways, like an actual TV show. I know that's a lofty goal, to say the least. I know some of these formats we try aren't going to be the most popular, but I'm confident that something is going to stick. And you all are going to be very important to this. I do my very best to read every comment on every video, so if something's working, let me know. And if something doesn't, let me know even more. With all caps, if you'd like. Which reminds me, we're doing a Q&A video next week to end the year. If you have any questions for me about the channel, politics, life, whatever, leave them down below. I genuinely can't wait to hear what you all have to say. I think it's gonna be a really great video. So I wanna end this video by talking to the person that's watching this that has been on the fence about starting a YouTube channel. Maybe I'm biased, but I would say, do it now. Don't let my prediction for where things are going on this platform stop you. Every day since the start of this website has been the best day to make videos on it yet. Now's your chance to make something incredible. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find an audience as great as this one to carry you along. Thank you all for everything. Wait. There was something that we were like needing to do at the end of the video, right? Like something to tie people along so they watched until the end. Like, It was some kind of YouTube video, or I mean, you don't have to click on it, like it's there. It's really nothing. You don't need to click on that, actually. Oh God. Okay.